Now, as the Russia-Ukraine war continues, there are about 230 South African students who are facing a battle of their own in Russia. The students face eviction from their homes and expulsion from their universities because South African authorities have not paid their stipends for 3 months. They are currently sponsored by Mpumalanga Department of Education in South Africa and are studying everything from medicine to veterinary science, engineering, aeronautical science, cybersecurity, and IT.
The Department of Education says it is struggling to appoint a new agent to manage the students. But in the meantime, the students may find themselves on the streets. Now, joining us in Breakfast Central this morning is the We Are South African Students Foundation head, Gilbert Martin, who has been fighting the plight of the students. Gilbert, thanks for joining us and good morning to you.
Thank you, and good morning to yourself and your viewers as well.
Can you share with us what the latest update is on this matter? Have the students been evicted? What has happened to them in the last couple of days, and where are they currently?
We managed to intervene with the two students that were being threatened with evictions on Monday. And they set that aside following on the Mpumalanga Education Department's promise that the payment will be reflected by the 14th of October. Unfortunately, I think as Nigeria and every African country and every country in the world has come to learn that the South African government is not really honest in its dealings, and it is our biggest concern that they're placing these students at risks. They refuse to answer us. They refuse to answer even our national government. This is the provincial government. So I think it was a great story to tell for South Africa and Africa itself as well, to have these students go there and bring their skills back to South Africa and subsequently into Africa to better all of our futures. And the fact that they bungled it up here so close to the end is just beyond us.
So if we get you correctly, there has been no response so far from the government?
No, they believe that they're above accountability, and unfortunately we'll have to, again, as in every single situation in this country, teach them a lesson in court, because that tends to be the only way that we get any answers. I think everybody in Africa just wants a responsible government that communicates with its people and tries to bring things together. I see, as your president is trying to do very hard in Nigeria, and to make things work and function so that everybody can eat, sleep, study, and complete their dreams. And our government just does not have the will to even bother responding to an email.
Let's talk about the Mpumalanga Department of Education. So far, how would you say, or what has been the role in this, and how did we even get here in the first place?
I think, and this is actually a plea, and why I wanted to be on this interview. I think it's time that the African Union takes a deeper look at South Africa. We've been extremely arrogant on the front of African Union and everywhere else in the world where we are members, member countries. And our government is very arrogantly telling everybody what to do. But I think it's time that the African Union also steps in and tells South Africa to bring its house in order. You've all seen what happens down here with xenophobia. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Our corruption, I think, is the worst in human history for any single nation. And I'm really hoping, for the sake of the students, that this isn't corruption that has happened. And what can be done is, just like I said, only thing that we can do is just fight through it until we get a response, which would be a simple case of speaking to somebody like I'm speaking to you and saying, what is the problem? What can we do to fix it? And they just don't seem to care about that.
Does this, from what you've described, would you say this paints the picture of the Ramaphosa government in general? And, I also would like to ask about your role in this, why you've taken it upon yourself to, of course, bring these kids to safety.
There's the age-old question in Africa. So many people came here from different places, and some not on a nice term. So I think everybody knows what I mean by that. But we're all here now, and we all want to create something better. And that is why we're involved. The We Are South Africans Foundation purely exists because it is trying to, what the name says, we are South Africans. We are not Black South Africans or white South Africans or Muslim South Africans or Christian South Africans. We're just purely South Africans. And our goal is to still maintain the top rating within Africa, but also to be a place where we can help grow the rest of Africa and be a productive part of the world. And our government is decimating every single thing under Ramaphosa's leadership. It's been longer than that. You know, we've got two presidents before him, which were just an absolute appalling mess to this country and brought it even worse than it was before 1994. So that is what we are here for. We're here to solve problems, and not necessarily just always wielding the legal stick and beating people up and intimidating them to get what we want. Literally, not literally saying that, but you understand, forcing people to do the right thing. That is really what our organization exists about, and that's what we climbed in to help these students for, to say that these parents are poor. These children have no other options and opportunities in the world, and this is the one thing that was given to them. And now, you know, it's become a terrible nightmare. Why did we get here?
Gilbert, I'd like you to give us a picture of what the situation is. Now, I was reading accounts of one of the students who will be graduating this year, or who is scheduled to graduate later this year, and she was talking about the fact that she's unable to read or concentrate because she's afraid that her landlord could come in and kick her out. Her rent was due to expire on the 10th of October, which was yesterday, of course. Or rather, she was asked to pay or leave before the 10th of October. Now, I do not know what has happened with that particular student. Temperatures in Moscow should be about 8 degrees Celsius. What exactly, I don't know if you've been able to speak with the students, paint a picture for us about the realities of what the students are dealing with in Russia.
Good news about that student you're referring to. They have also given her opportunity till Friday. And they also, our embassy in Moscow, oddly enough, which I didn't expect, provided a letter to say that they are resolving it as well. So between our intervention and theirs, they have said that she's okay and she won't be evicted. So she's still in her accommodation. But come the 14th of October, if our government doesn't pay, then the universities will effectively expel them. The landlords have already refused to give them their documentation that will allow them to get a letter from the landlord to say that they have proof of residence. Now, in Russia, it's not like South Africa, and I guess a lot of, if I come to Nigeria and I can't prove that I'm a South African citizen and legally in Nigeria, you know, you would deport me. And Russia would do the same thing. So because you don't have the relevant documentation and the police stop you on the street, the kids will be arrested and they will be sent in the next plane back home, meaning that they will never be able to return to those countries again because of their expulsion and or eviction. So this is really seriously going to damage 229 very young lives.
This was really scary.
Apart from not being able to finish their studies.
No, so all the years just wasted. That's a sad reality.
All right, Gilbert, we'll of course love to speak with you again. Hopefully bring you back on the 14th and see, of course, if anything has changed and if there's light at the end of the tunnel for these students. But of course, continue to follow up and see if you can, play the part that you can. Would love to bring you back again, but thank you for joining us this morning.
It's a tender, and thank you to yourself and your viewers as well.
Absolutely.